Oh, you just remembered that. Sorry.
Okay, so the claim that I'm responding to is that computer technology is harmful to children. And the three claims are that smartphones are harmful for children's brain development, kids develop withdrawal symptoms caused by smartphone addiction, and that smartphones and tablets can have detrimental effects on children's body development. So in a response to all the claims, I would say that handheld computer technology is not proven to have a harmful effect on children all the time. So in response to the first claim that smartphones are harmful for children's brain development, I said that the increasing amount of digital media used by children is not always harmful to brain development. And I had two counterclaims to support that. So for one, technology is used for educational purposes. And in a position statement done by the National Association for Education of Young Children, they said that effective uses of technology and media are active, hands-on, engaging, and empowering. They give the child control, provide adaptive scaffolds to help children progress in skills development at their individual rates, and are used as one of many options to support children's learning. Technology and interactive media should expand children's access to new content and new skills. And as for my second point on that, technology can enhance creativity. John made a statement that creativity will be lessened because of handheld technology, but actually I think that creativity is something that's subjective, where people get their creativity for is like all on their own. That's something that's subjective. It's not all the same for everybody, so I've had some examples of like apps that are used to enhance creativity as a counterclaim for that. Like there's drawing apps, there's animation apps, story apps, cartoon apps, all these things that are used to enhance creativity for children. So moving on to the second response to the second claim, there are flaws in the evidence used that smartphones addiction to smartphones cause withdrawal symptoms. For one, the smartphone addiction hasn't been formally diagnosed by doctors. There hasn't been an official diagnosis saying that being addicted to a smartphone is an actual addiction. Smartphone addiction isn't taken as seriously as other addictions like drinking and things like that. In comparison, in an article by the Korean Society called the Smartphone Addiction Disease or Obsession, it says that since these addictions, gaming, shopping, may be symptoms of underlying mental disorders, including depression, anxiety, impulse control disorders, and pathological gambling, they are therefore not considered real addictions in the same way as excessive use of telephones and televisions cannot be classified as telephone and television addictions. And as well, not all mobile and online activities indicate an addiction. For instance, there's emailing and chatting and web surfing are normal parts of everyday life for everyone, but that doesn't mean that you're addicted to using your smartphone. And also, leaning into that, there's an addiction, you can say, when a phone is being misused and abused, so you're spending too much time on it. And I found a study done by the USA Today saying that 70% of parents say they monitor their children's activity while on Facebook and social media, just using their technology and everything. So if 70%, which is more than half of the parents, are monitoring their children, then that would mean that they're able to make sure that the phones are being misused and abused, and like just that their kids aren't getting addicted to their technology. And as a response to the third claim, there is insufficient evidence to provide that smartphones and tablets can affect children's body development. So John said that smartphones can affect kids' vision. He said that blue violet light is potentially hazardous and toxic to the back of your eyes. And going off that same information, I found that opticians said that although good blue light, blue turquoise, is needed to help regulate biological clocks, it is also thought that extensive exposure to blue violet light can disrupt sleep patterns and affect moods. But although it says that Andy Hepworth, who's an optician, says we don't know if there's a direct link with it creating eye problems, so it's not even a for sure thing. And also, there's a claim made that it causes eye posture, which affects your neck and back because of the slouching and you like looking at your tablet or whatever, the way that you're looking at it. But that's kind of irrelevant because that could be easily fixed by someone just sitting up straight and staring directly at their tablet instead of slouching how kids do, how people do all the time. So in conclusion, although handheld technology can result in some negative consequences, the increasing use of technology is inevitable and sufficient evidence should be noted to provide actual diagnosis of handheld technology's effect on children. And that's it.
All right, well, you label the claims pretty clearly. You've got a general position that you're taking that these things are not proven. You've got two responses on the first point that are clearly labeled. You provide evidence on each of those points. I do think you need to contrast those a little bit more with the evidence that the advocate presented on those particular points. But I thought that it was pretty reasonable, the idea that there is, in fact, some benefit that the kids get in developing their brain. There's not really much discussion of what the advocate's evidence was on those points. And so, in essence, we've got one side saying, hey, it's good for you, and the other side saying, no, it's not. And both sides presented evidence. Now, how am I supposed to decide between those two? I need a little bit more contrast on those arguments. On the second position that you take, I think that your argument's a little bit more aggressive in attacking what the advocate's position is, suggesting that there's not really a definition of what constitutes addiction, that it's not equivalent to other types of addiction, and in fact it really represents an underlying mental disorder that these things are really symptoms rather than causes themselves of those sorts of things. I think that's a good challenge to the reasoning that the advocate's presenting on that point. I think you could use a little bit more evidence on that point, but you got the right idea. And then the argument that says that parents are monitoring, I think that's a pretty reasonable argument to make. It's a generalization, but in this context, it seems like it's a safe one to be making. And then your last point, I think, we're back to the same issue about whether or not there's enough proof on this. The first part seems to just basically accept that there are all these weird things about blue light and maybe there are potential problems, but then we get kind of a passive piece of testimony that says, but we really can't say that there's a direct link on that. I think that's Gesundheit. It certainly is like backing out of the argument as opposed to attacking the argument. I thought your argument right at the end, I think it makes a little bit more sense on this idea about posture. It's pretty straightforward. Wow, kids slouch, imagine that. Whether they're using a tablet or not, kids are they got bad posture. Parents have been telling their kids to sit up straight for 2,000 years. That's not a big surprise. That's the way you ought to phrase that one. Let's be assertive about that. Stop slouching at the tablet. I mean the table. Moms have been saying that forever. All right. Guadalupe, could we have you next, please?